Oh, Jay, you know what's so funny? I know there's a lot of things about you, but it's so funny. I literally just asked you like 10 questions of, do you like this? What do you think of that? And you're like, no, no, not really. I almost felt like we were like on a first date. Like, have you ever been on those awkward first dates where just like, wow, our friends thought we would be cool, but this is not working out.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no life. It's pitiful.
No, stop it, you. No, but yet at the same time, we're still here and you see me on a biweekly basis, whether you like it or not. So, Mr. J, are you ready for
Yeah.
the mic is listening?
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic is
The
listening.
mic is
The
listening.
mic
The mic
is
is
The mic is
listening.
listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
The mic is listening.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to a very special Social Saturday episode of The Mic is Listening. I typically do not do anything on the weekends. I typically reserve that for me to sleep in, eat all I want, watch all the movies I want that I don't typically get to watch, and enjoy a few bonbons on the side and hang out with some friends and family. So why am I doing this today? Kind of like a whim. It was kind of like a let's check it out, let's have some fun. There's a lot of folks that I know that like text me over the course of the weekend, and I figured, okay, I'll give it a shot. Let's have some fun conversations. And this particular guest today that I actually asked to join is going to help those understand what the hell I'm doing half the time, because half my posts are all about podcasting. Half of my other posts are about business and entrepreneurship and events and all that stuff. And so people are like, what the hell is going on with you, Sia? And at the same time, I get it. But on the flip side, I'm also like, you know what? We're also multifaceted people, right? We're not just one thing. And that's what I really love about getting to know people. So, you know, again, Social Saturday is a big thing here on LinkedIn, and it's all about getting to know people a little bit more in depth beyond our, like and comment posts. It's actually getting to know the individuals where, you do business and collaborate with people that you know, like, and trust. And I thought there's no better way for me to do my random Saturday live streams than to invite a very, very dear friend and also colleague to the mic is listening, Mr. Jay Fairbrother. He is the executive VP of the Dallas Chairs for Global Leaders Organization, or GLOW. Welcome, Jay.
I say, I'm honored to be a Saturday guest. That seems like the special honor.
Well, it is because you're my first. So there you go. You never thought. And you gave me a hard time. You're like, Sia, how come I never get to be on the mic is listening? I'm like, guy, you've never asked. I didn't think you wanted to be on because, my shows are a little irreverent.
I didn't know it was as easy as asking.
Oh, please. I got your back, Jack, But that's the whole point of it, right? Like when you know someone over time, and I've known you for years now, right? Or a year and a half, 2 years, right? Is you don't think to ask your friends, right? You just like it. There's this like open door policy, but yet at the same time, friends don't ask each other things as often as they should. Do you run into that same situation as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to toss in here. I'm a little insulted that you referred to our relationship as know, like, and trust, because I thought you know, love, and trust me.
Oh, well, okay, look, we are live streaming, Jay, and you're married, and I have a boyfriend. I don't want people to like make assumptions about love.
I am not. I am very single, not married whatsoever. So.
Oh, hey, ladies, Jay's single. So, well, that's really dangerous because I do have my boyfriend. I'm not married, but at any rate, don't worry, everyone. This is very on the up and up. Although Michelle's probably gonna have a heart attack. Like, what are you doing, guys? What are you doing? So full disclosure, everyone, I am the Dallas chair for Global Leaders Organization. And I know people have seen me posting like events for Dallas, Fort Worth area. And I'm just a huge advocate for community. And so I don't believe in just simply, connecting with followers. I don't subscribe to the I need 1 million followers to be, quote, successful on social media philosophy, though it's helpful and it has its merits. So I know I've got other friends that like argue with me on this. But what I will say this, whatever tribe community that you have around you and surround yourself with, if they're the ones that actually get you referrals, get you business, make new connections with people that are meaningful for you just to be better as a whole, as a person, I think that's more important than anything. And so that's why I love Glow. That's my little why Glow pitch that you'll ever hear from me. But Jay, when you came on board, you're so the opposite of me. You're much more mellow. You're chill, like a, chilling like a villain kind of guy. So what brings you to this wonderful world of like business entrepreneurship organization?
So that you use the word community. So I'll share, as I've been an entrepreneur for 35 years, and for the first 5 years that I was an entrepreneur, I wasn't in any kind of entrepreneurial community, and I didn't have those relationships. And, it's an overused cliche, but it's freaking lonely. And the example that I use, which is very true because I was married at that time, there's conversations that you can't even have with your spouse or significant other, like you can't come home, hi, honey, how was your day? Oh, it was great. And if I don't find, $30,000 in the next 2 weeks to meet payroll, the whole thing's coming crashing down and we're going to lose our house and our more, that's not a good dinner conversation you have with your family, your friends. And so being able to be in a community of entrepreneurs, and we'll talk later about, kind of safe space parts, small groups, that it's so important for entrepreneurs to be able to have those conversations and to unload some of that stuff and get out some of that, those pressures and things that are hard to talk about.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you something. Like I keep saying I'm a newly minted entrepreneur. I left the corporate rat race in 2017. Didn't really in earnest start my business in 2019. I mean, founded in 2018, but didn't really try to go into actual earning revenue until 2019. And one thing I didn't realize, and maybe the pandemic had something to do with it because 2020 was butt kicking, but I did not realize how much self-reflection entrepreneurship and leadership, right? Once you hit certain levels of executive leadership, you're right. It can be very lonely and isolating, but I wonder if that's self-imposed isolation, right? That you assume that your peer group have their SHIT together, right? That you must therefore have to give the illusion that you've got your SHIT together. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah. So you're touching on so many things. We could talk an hour just about things like entrepreneurial imposter syndrome and depression and bipolar. And, these are very common things in being an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. And it's interesting to me because I see these things being talked about, nowadays a lot more than they were, 15, 20 years ago. You just didn't talk about those things. It wasn't mentioned, but I don't know if I've ever met an entrepreneur who doesn't struggle with, that sort of isolation, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, fear of success, all of those things.
Yeah, no, I think so. There's some great folks that are like joining us here that I just really want to welcome and say thank you. So Leslie, I love you. I love all the support. And Leslie, I just want she actually was on a guest of mine last week. Leslie, was it last week or week before? Oh my gosh. Anyway, she was on the Mike is listening. And the thing I love is Leslie always shows up. The thing about community and building relationships is you got to always show up for one another, just like any true friendship, right? And being there. And it's a reciprocal relationship. I tried as much as I can to be there for Leslie just because I like her in general. And it's like, again, you want to hang out with people that are like raise you up and inspire you. So Leslie, I just want to give you a shout out. That just want to say thank you to Leslie. And then here's the other facet of relationships, because I'm going to pick on Andrew. He's another former The Mike is Listening guest. And he is someone I will always support. He is so he will support me, but man alive, he makes me pay for it. Like this guy keeps me on my toes from a wittiness perspective. Like, Do you have some folks that you've met and networked with over time where you're just like, I love you, but man alive, Andrew will keep me on my toes. I don't know if I can outwit him ever. I've tried. It's almost like a exercise in futility.
Well, all I can say is I'm on the keto donut bandwagon. Sign me up for that.
Well, what is a keto donut, Andrew? Tell me what a keto donut is, because it sounds like to me just like a big old like peanut butter bomb or something like. Which, by the way, I have made, which are delicious. If anyone
I think it might be the land of make believe.
Right. So, full disclosure: if I don't hit my mute button in time, everyone, I apologize. I'm trying to get over this cough. So, if I blow out your eardrums today, good morning, wake up. It's Saturday. So, okay, so let me bring us back and right the ship again. So let's talk about this, because business organizations like Glow, this is not the only unique type thing. We know of like some other more popular, more well-known ones like Vista, Geo, YPO, all that stuff. So I'm curious, because I have my reasons why I was attracted to Glow. What was your attraction? Because we could, like, quite frankly, there are members of Glow that are also members of the other business organizations. So what was it about Glow specifically? And it's not meant to be a pitch, people. I'm just simply asking a question.
Yeah, so I was on the board here of EO for over a decade and president a couple times in Pittsburgh. And I got just an unbelievable amount of value out of that organization. There's no way I would have probably ever sold my first business if I wasn't part of that community. So I'm a big believer in the community like that. And what I loved about the Glow concept, which is modeled after some of these other successful entrepreneur communities, is that number one, we're more inclusive. So we have a lot lower criteria and price point to get involved with Glow. And to me, that was sort of that was one of the drawbacks of some of these other communities, which were kind of like, you almost feel like it was an old boys club to get in. And, so I like the inclusiveness and the bigger goals that Glow has. And then obviously, we have our capital thing, which is pretty unique in terms of these organizations, or our own capital platform, and investors looking to work with entrepreneurs on a debt or equity basis. So I just buy into the mission, and I've experienced firsthand, what it's like to have a really vibrant, not only local, but global entrepreneurial community. So, the way I like to look at Glow is that you've got hyper local, which is your forum peer group. You've got local, regional, which is your chapter and the chapter meetings, that kind of thing. And then you've got global. And where we want to see Glow going at some point is that you can tap into that global network for anything from, hey, I'm looking for an IP attorney in this state to help with this problem. Does anybody have recommendations? To, hey, I'm visiting Dallas next week. Anybody, where's the best places to go? I've got teenage kids. What can I do with them? And reach out to that entrepreneurial global community for help.
So you touched on a lot of different things, and it just inspired me. And I'm typing this out now as we speak, because I want to put this up there as a poll. So I already put it out there on text, and now I'm going to do it on my banner. I'm curious, because people that I've been talking to about Glow specifically. So for those that are looking for access to capital, is it a yes or a no? And when I say yes or no, meaning, are you thinking about beyond bootstrapping your business? Or if you are looking for access to capital, what is it that you're looking for? I'd be curious to hear. There's a lot of pros and cons. And there are individuals that are like, hell no, I'll never get access to capital. I'm bootstrapping this, and I'm going to make this happen on my own. I'm not going to forego equity, whatever. So I'm kind of curious to see where everyone's head's at. Jay, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing in Pittsburgh?
So I'll answer that for myself. I mean, I think that at almost every point in my 30-some years of being an entrepreneur, I would have answered no to that question, because from what I've seen, most entrepreneurs don't think they need capital until they need capital. meaning you suddenly an opportunity comes about and you want to, maybe buy another company or competitor, or some disaster happens and you don't have the cash flow to fund, you were rolling along fine, funding out of cash flow and bootstrapping. And then suddenly, like I had a situation, I had a couple of situations that are stories in themselves, but there was one point when I lost my largest client, which was 31% of my revenues. And, when you've got, almost 100 employees and you lose 31% of your revenue, you're, you need capital. And I wasn't prepared. I was just like, like, oh yeah, I got to get my financials in order. What?
Yeah, no, and that's the funny thing is like, so one of the things that really attracted me in general was the fact that, there's a path, right, in Glow to offer resources for you to research, to see, are you really capital ready? Are you attractive? Because just because we are gorgeously brilliant people, Jay, right? Sometimes our idea may or may not, be the sexiest thing that's, of interest to an investor, right? And I love that awareness that we're in it together. We all, of course, want to help each other succeed and, and support for growth. But sometimes we need some checks and balances, you know what I mean? And that self-reality of like, well, I think I'm a multi-billion-dollar business. And then when people actually sit and look at your books, look at how you're going about business, it's humbling.
Yeah.
Do you think people are afraid to go through that process?
I don't know if it's fear or just, people like, entrepreneurs think we always think we can solve all the problems ourselves. That, whether that's being, typically type A personalities or as entrepreneurs or whatever, but, we're always thinking that I can solve it. I can get through it. I can figure it out. So yeah, part of it, is humbling to when you get to a point where it's like, oh shit, I need help.
Yeah, no, I mean, because we've got a full range. Like at least for Dallas, what I've cultivated culturally for me is my personal goal in life is I just want a diversified group of friends, family in general for my personal life, and I think that's a reflection of how I view the chapter here in Dallas is, and not to knock Dallas. There's tons of great business communities already in place, but I didn't feel like I was necessarily part of that crew, if that makes sense, right? I'm not going to call it good old boy network, but let's be honest, it's Texas. It's a good old boy network. But there's so much industry out here. Like, so Dallas, Fort Worth area, you guys, there's huge gaming and tech out here, right? You don't think of those necessarily in the traditional sense for, this city. And there's tons of businesses that are not even just startup. They're actually in revenue generating mode, but they didn't realize that they had a community of people in other industries that are interested in helping to facilitate the growth of them. You know what I mean? So that's what I go after, right? So all the gaming folks, esports, was talking about that. They're like, what the hell, Sia? Or even like, technology. There's just so much to talk about from an AI, VR, like there's so much IoT, Internet of Things. There's so much going on that the traditional businesses that we think of, and I'm not trying to knock certain industries, but we can have so much more fun with it. How are you seeing your chapter in Pittsburgh or other chapters across the United States? Do you see any other chairs viewing their chapters a certain way?
Well, I think the idea of the inclusiveness is really critical to how we're approaching this, is so that we're not just going after only the traditional businesses and that kind of thing. Like, and you were talking about sort of characterizing Dallas. Pittsburgh, most people think of as, it's an old steel city and that kind of thing. And I just recently learned this. We are actually the leading city in the world right now for robotics research and robotics startups and companies and what's happening here in robotics, which it just shows how things shift over time. And so the key is it's diversity. And I'm going to switch subjects because you mentioned something that triggered this. Entrepreneurs, in my experience, are some of the most generous people in the world. And when an entrepreneur reaches out to, so first of all, entrepreneurs typically have immediate respect for other entrepreneurs. Like, I get it. You know, what you're living, I get, and it's not all roses like people think from the outside. And so I'll share a little story. So, you know, I had some success. I'd sold a business, and I think I was into my third or fourth business when the 2008-2010 financial crisis hit. And over the next few years, I lost everything. Like literally, quite literally, went from multimillionaire living in a mansion to living in my friend's basement without even owning a car. I tell that story a lot in terms of just who I am and what I've gone through. But the pertinent part of that story for our conversation today is, guess whose friend I ended up living in his basement? It was somebody I was in EO with, who was in my forum peer group, and literally, you know, reached out and said, look, you live in my basement, you know, for as long as you need. And you know, that's the kind of relationships that you can form, and the kind of generosity that you see with entrepreneurs.
Okay, so you just said two things here. Okay, so I want to pull up Mike. Thank you, Mike, for reminding. It is hard to ask in the first place, which ties into your story. Living in someone's basement, at least it wasn't mom's, so you have that going for you, Jay. But that being said, you said you were part of a forum. So if you don't mind, I want to shift gears a little bit, because I actually have had this debate. I actually questioned you when I first learned about it, because if anyone or isn't familiar with forum, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of curious. What is the difference between a forum and a mastermind?
Well, you are asking the right guy, because in my coaching business, which is, you know, you talked about, you do half podcasting, half Glow. I have a coaching business and half Glow. In my coaching business, what I do is I teach, directed mostly towards authors, speakers, coaches, course creators, how to create high-end mastermind programs, and offer them to their following. And yes, that's very different than forum, which is a true peer group. So the difference in a mastermind, typically there's a leader, you know, where someone's being paid to run, facilitate, be the expert or guru that's running the mastermind. In the forum peer groups, which happen within Glow and other organizations, it's a group of, you know, typically 9 to 12 entrepreneurs get together every month for a 3 to 4 hour meeting. These meetings are very structured, so it's not just sit around, you know, BSing about your business and problems, but there's structures and protocols that help keep things, you know, productive, for lack of a better word. And so there's you know, somebody facilitates the group, but it's one of the group members, meaning they're not, you know, at a higher level, or they're not getting paid to facilitate. They're just helping to run the meeting. But it's a true peer-to-peer relationship, and the kind of, you know, trust and vulnerability that can develop in these groups, and lifelong friendships who will let you live in their basement sometimes.
But that's exactly it, right? So mastermind to me is cursory, right? Like, hey, I've got a business challenge here. We're going to chat. We'll talk it out. You meet, you know, once, whenever. It could be remote. It could be, you know, in person. Most masterminds I've seen so far have been remote. And again, because I'm a newly minted entrepreneur, all I know is remote because of the pandemic and whatnot. So I'm sure so there have been some masterminds in person, but it doesn't go very far beyond that. It feels like forum, and shout out Vince Placente. He made a joke with his forum that he's been with for 20 odd years. They would make jokes of who would cry first in a meeting. But that means something. It means you're talking about mental wellness, mental health, right? Relationships. Like, hey guys, I'm actually distracted from my business right now because I'm about to go through a divorce, or whatever, or I'm in a health crisis. Like, very deep personal conversations. Why do you think forum works so well like that? Because to give yourself that deeply, that personally, couldn't it possibly backfire by giving too much of yourself?
No is the answer to that question. So typically, and I've been in, so I was in a forum for 17 years. I've been in many, but one in particular I was in for 17 years. And I actually just left that group a few years ago because I developed a competitive conflict with one of the members, and I was the one to volunteer to say, I'll step out. That forum group is still meeting 20 some years later now. So typically when a new forum starts, for the first 6, 8, 9 months or whatever, it's always business presentations, because that's the main part of why we're all there, right? Is to help grow our businesses and become better entrepreneurs. But once you get a trust level built up and get to a point where you feel the space is, number one, confidential, safe, people start getting vulnerable. And the next thing you know, somebody comes in and their issue for that month is personal, like you just said. Maybe it's their divorce or a problem with their kid or whatever they're going through. And what's amazing is how other entrepreneurs can relate to the same kinds of personal issues with each other. So it's about creating a safe, vulnerable space and trust and mutual respect, right? That's a key component to masterminds and forum groups. One of the reasons sometimes they don't work is there's not true parity in the members. So for instance, if I'm in a forum group, I don't want to be in a forum group with somebody doing 500,000 in revenue if I'm doing 20 million in revenue.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna feel equal, and it's critical that everybody feels equal. So like, for instance, when I run a forum meeting, I always start the meeting by saying, okay, just a reminder, doesn't matter the size of your business or the size of your bank account, for the next 4 hours, we're all equal. So it's just about that, creating that parity, that safe space to allow people to get vulnerable.
Yeah, man, vulnerability, that's such a tough word for entrepreneurs, isn't it? Like, to simply say, and as Mike had mentioned earlier, to ask for help, right? To know that you could possibly be wrong, right? Like, how awesome is it? And have you, in your experience with your forums, where you were going down a path and you said, okay, guys, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's where I believe the numbers are going to be, blah, blah, blah. Has your forum ever sat back and go, whoa, dude, you're missing something big time here, based on their experience? And has it been where you took their advice and said, oh yeah, that was right? Or did you go your own way and stick to your path?
I'm laughing because over the years, my forum group tried to talk me out of a lot of things that I ended up doing anyway and now regret. So both. I mean, I think that there are times when, okay, so when I was quippish when I said talk me out of something, because one of the rules of forum is you don't give advice. You share relevant experience, which you sort of alluded to. And the reason it's set up that way, and we don't have time to get into all of that, but the reason it's set up that way is, again, as typically type A personalities, we don't like to be told what to do. And if anything, we resist when somebody says, well, you should be doing this, and why didn't you do that? And so there's a lot of reasons for that. But that every situation and outcome, you typically will end up coming up in a forum group. And one of the things, so here's another thing that I love about our structure with forums, is that it's not industry specific. Like, there's value in an industry peer group, but everybody's thinking in the same box, from the same sandbox. And I can legitimately say I don't think I've ever been to a forum meeting in 25 years of participating in many forums where there wasn't at least at some point during the meeting somebody asked a question may not have been to me, but whoever's presenting at that moment, that I think to myself, oh my God, I never would have even thought to ask that question, because you've got people in different industries and that kind of thing, people thinking outside of your sandbox and challenging you to think in new ways. And to me, that's one of the most powerful things that happens in Forum.
Okay, so let's say, for example, okay, so David from Edinburgh, by the way, thank you so much. So good evening to you, sir. Okay, so he's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. Let's just say, for example, it's an entrepreneur that's maybe thinking about spinning up another business. So let's pretend David's thinking about spinning up another business and he happens to be part of our forum. How would you go about that in a way that you're not telling him what to do? Obviously, you cannot. How would a forum response if David walked in and said, okay, guys, I'm thinking about starting another line of business of something. I'm going to start an underwater basket weaving touring service. I don't know. I'm making stuff up here.
Yeah. So again, you're going to speak from your own experience.
Okay.
And, if an entrepreneur has one business now, I can almost guarantee you they've thought of 3 to 20 other businesses that they might want to create, or they think they could create, or many of us, end up owning multiple businesses at a time.
Right.
So you just speak from that experience. And so even if I never say I had one business and I haven't created the other one, I can speak from 2 standpoints. Number one, the thought processes I went through when I was deciding to launch my first business, but also the thought process that I went through and what I did when I was thinking about launching another. So, that almost always there's some shared experience that you can share.
I find myself, my brain going back and forth of the comfort and stability of being a corporate, sales shill, if you will, to the dynamic, the opportunity, the creativity allotted an entrepreneur. I'm just curious now that this is like a total random question. I'm ADDing, guys. So squirrel moment for Sia is, what is your first step when you've got that beautiful, big, bright idea? What's your first thing you do when you come up with an idea to consider launching your business? I'm just curious. What's that first thing you do?
So, for me, and this is just very personal, it's the way I operate. Like, I would have made a good lawyer because my brain can very quickly and easily, look at an issue and immediately look at it from many different angles and sides and views. And I can argue with myself and, have the raging debates about yes or no and good and bad and that kind of thing. I think that's different for everybody. Some people are going to just run out and immediately talk to somebody and get some feedback and advice and bounce ideas off of. So if I had advice, if that was the question, is what advice would you give to someone? I would say that what you have to, it's one thing to talk to friends, family, acquaintances, or other entrepreneurs, but it's another thing to talk to your target market. And that's really the best place to start, is talk to who would be your potential customer and find out what they want and if what you're thinking would help them and they would be willing to buy it. And so there's a whole market research strategy that you can do to vet new ideas.
Yeah. It's interesting because first thing for me, because I'm the self-professed Tasmanian devil of ideas, and heaven knows what sticks against that wall. Good luck, whatever is discovered upon that, right? But I think you're right. For me, I'm a visual, so I'll write it down, and I literally do that column: pros, cons, and ultimately, you nailed it. Who's your audience? Who the hell are you trying to market to? Because as entrepreneurs, sometimes we come up with ideas that I think is genius. You think you're filling a gap somewhere, but then there's no market for it.
Yeah. I'm in some networking groups and they do this thing called Hot or Not. So people come in and kind of throw out a title of a program or offer they're making, or title and subtitle, and people, say whether it's hot or not and give feedback. And it's fun. It's entertaining and it's fun. But there's a problem inherent with it, is that most of the people giving feedback aren't the target market that of what you're right.
Let me tell you, Jay, I produce podcasts for clients and I have my own personal shows, this being one of them. Guess how many of my family members, by the way, the big family, will download or watch or even realize I have a live stream show that's been going on for like 2 years. Zero support. So for me to get ideas from them, it's a joke, complete joke. Does your family and friends support you, or have they supported you?
Yeah, but they have no clue what I do. They never have.
I know. I was talking to my mom the other day about like just life in general. And she just goes, you made a lot more money when you were working in corporate sales. Why don't you go back to that? I'm like, because Mom, I was miserable. I was breaking out into hives. You said so yourself. You drink too much. You eat too much. I'm like, well, that was part of my job. Okay. I had to take my clients out. If it's going to be wine and delicious steaks, Mommy, I'm going to have to eat it. I'm joking. But still, you know what I mean? It's just, the people you think closest to you, you think will understand, and they don't. And that's why going back and tying it back, forum is such a freaking cool thing, because you could have those types of conversations and they do understand you.
Yeah, forum is a cool thing. Definitely. It really is. Forums, it's hard to understand the value of forum until you've participated. And that's one of the challenges we have with, Glow and that kind of thing is that because forum is one of the main value propositions and the opportunity to be in that kind of a entrepreneur peer group, but it's very hard, to sell it or sell the concept.
Yeah.
Well,
because so many people, and I did the same thing when you first proposed and said, hey, are you familiar with forum? I was like, you mean like a Greek forum? Because I've been to the concert hall in LA called the Forum, great venue. And it took a while for me to really click, because I think people assume forum is mastermind, just a rebrand, and it's not, right? And I don't want to harp on it. I don't want to keep harping on it, but I will say this, guys, if you're interested to learn more about Glow and all that stuff, I mean, there's definitely some merit to it. So for example, here, let's talk about this, because, and side note, before I do this thing, show the world we are one. Okay. That is a lyric from a Pitbull song, which We Are One is the name of the song, which I didn't realize was a 2014 FIFA theme song. And why do we care about Pitbull, Jay?
Pitbull is one of our Glow ambassadors and speakers.
What are you talking about, Willis? So that's the one thing that I thought was really cool, that Pitbull is an entrepreneur. In fact, he says, first and foremost, I am an entrepreneur. And I just love his story, because he talks about how even as a kid, and whether it's a true story or not, I don't care. This is a story he's telling, which is his mom would play these Tony Robbins tapes, I guess. And he grew up listening to all this. And I'm not pitching Tony Robbins, although Tony Robbins, if you want to sponsor me, I'm not going to say no. I'm joking. Not really. Hit me up. Wait, hold on. Wait, we'll do one more thing. Hey, Tony Robbins. Wait. Tony Robbins, hit me up. All right. So let's talk about this. So for anyone that wants to hit up Glow and check it out, it is with glow.com. Very easy. WITHGLO.com. So talk to me about this, because when you go to this website, Jay, where should people go on this? Because I'm just a little confused here.
Well, I want them to go to become a member and become a chair, but to check it out, I would first start with events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, I didn't mean to there. So we don't have anything coming up right now, because we have to load it up, because we're hitting the end of year. But and I probably should have put up my own graphics for Dallas. I'm a bad girl. I guess I could probably do that. But let's talk about that, because here's the thing. Look at the market leaders. Like, click on these guys. When you go to websites, please click on these things. They do have value, and for a reason. So there are folks that will head up certain, we'll say, industries, and they will every now and then like input and provide data. They are supporters of Glow, and excuse me.
There's some big names. There's some celebrities. There's some powerful business leaders associated with Glow and who are ambassadors. And I'm just trying to fill time while Sia is gagging into the mic. She's the gagging into the mic is the new title of the show. She's still doing it.
I freaking hate the fall.
Let me tell you about my next event, Sia. So I got a cool speaker in 2 weeks in Pittsburgh at our local chapter event. This guy, I think he founded something called the Center for Play and Exploration. And the topic of his talk is curiosity and freedom to fail, and how those two issues affect entrepreneurial culture within your organization. So he works with corporations, teams, entrepreneurs, to help, kind of instill that culture of curiosity, divergent thinking, freedom to fail. Very cool. I'm really looking forward to this event. So if you're in Pittsburgh on November 16th, we'd love to have you. You're muted.
It's probably better that I am on mute. Let me tell you. Oh my God, I just had a massive, one of those
we could see that
soul crushing hacking attacks. So thank goodness there's no germs that can be passed over these types of Zooms, or not Zooms. This is StreamYard. Anyway, so November 16th in Pittsburgh. On the same day, November 16th, there is a Dallas chapter meeting in the morning. And we're going to have, oh my gosh, Tim Storer, who is the founder of, one of the co-founders of Mason Bridge, as well as Calvin Carter, founder of Bottle Rocket. So we're going to have a fireside chat. The other thing to think about with there's business organizations in general. Oh my gosh, breathe.
I'm going to interrupt you while you're gagging again. So here's an offer for your audience. If you want to go to the morning event on the November 16th in Dallas, and then fly to Pittsburgh and attend the evening event in Pittsburgh, we'll give you a free membership in Glow for a year if you can make that happen.
I'm on board for that, sir. That would be funny. So everyone, let's jump on our respective Lear jets and let's make that happen. No, but here's what's cool about this, you guys, is the Global Leaders Organization in general. We will partner up with other business organizations. So we're not trying to say be the all-encompass, be all-in-one, we're doing it all. In fact, we are very cognizant of the fact that not all business communities will serve every single, gap in your, professional development and well-being and network, right? Obviously, we try to be as much as possible, but what better way to find complementary business organizations to really grow communities? So in the Dallas chapter, as well as nationally, but Dallas chapter, just because I happen to know them very well, is we've partnered with the Alliance of Mergers and Acquisition Advisors. These are all M&A folks, and they are looking to sell, buy business, do due diligence, all that stuff. So if you are in the business and you are looking to perhaps, grow your business, accelerate your business, sell your business, let's try it one more time. These types of orgs are really great ways and opportunities to really hear from these other individuals, right? And make that connection. So I get very excitable on it because we've had several joint meetings, and just the interaction and the feedback has just been absolutely amazing. So hopefully, in your respective areas, Jay, I know you've done some great events as well. Just chew on that, guys. Because I think that's one of the reasons why, again, I love Glow.
And I apologize if this sounds pitchy, but the beautiful thing about Glow, because we're relatively new, we're still kind of in a startup phase. We have 15 chapters right now in North America, 3 in Canada, 1 in Mexico. The others are scattered around the U.S., but we're ready now that we can actually have in-person meetings again. We're ready to go global. So we're looking for chairs to start chapters. And I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot my point, where I was going with that.
But
I know what I was going to say. So the price to join Glow is so low that you can actually easily join Glow and still join a couple other entrepreneurial things in your local area if you have them. It's not like a YPO or Vistage type commitment.
Tens of thousands of dollars annually. Yeah. I mean, look, the S&B space is not, it's just cost prohibitive, quite frankly, for some members, right? So that is a cool part of it. That is a very cool part of it. So Jay, I know we've ran hella long, and I really want to be respectful of your Saturday and everyone listening. Typically the My Kids Listening is like, a 30-minute odd show, but for the cool cats, we definitely extend it out. So are you cool with another 5 minutes or so of chatting it up a little bit? Was that a yes? I couldn't tell.
Yes, that was yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, did he just say no? Oops, sorry. What would be funny though, I've never had that. Someone says, no, I really got to go. I don't want to be here, or deuces. Like, boop, I'm out of here. I've always wanted to do that. Okay, I won't do that. So let's talk about, I have a question for you. And I've always been kind of curious. I know. I get curious about a lot of different things. If you weren't an entrepreneur, Jay, what else would you be doing now? What do you think you would be doing if you didn't go down this path?
So for me, there's a question. So in forums, sometimes we use like conversation starters, especially a new forum that's starting, just to get to know people a little bit better. And one of the questions, because we did this in my forum recently, was that if you, something along the lines of, if you had 90% chance of being like the best at whatever it was in the world, what profession would what would you want to do? And my answer is a golf pro, or, be a professional golfer. And that's just because my father owned a golf course when I was young. And I was the little bratty kid running around playing golf all day on the golf course. So anyway, yeah, that would be my.
Oh my gosh. You being a golfer, and you and I have never met in person, which is really funny. I could see you being a golfer because it's very analytical. It's a patient man's game, woman's game, human game. And I could see you really enjoying when you do that one perfect hit. Like you would enjoy those moments. Like, yes, I got it.
Yeah. Well, those moments at this point come so very rarely that I suck now. I don't play much golf anymore. But
yeah, well,
I would have loved to go on that route.
If you ever are in Dallas, there's a golf course here in my backyard. By all means, you're welcome to play on it. So I can cheer you from my balcony with a little tasty mimosa or something in my hand. I'll cheer you to success. So I do want to give one little final parting thought as and I know, guys, it's not meant to be a pitch, but I really want to share something deeply personal. And this is where the vulnerability, of course, I'm saving it to the end. So whoever's sticking around, woohoo, you get to hear it. So, one of the big reasons why I went into podcast production was because I had a series of very near and dear to my heart people passing. And it happened right after I left corporate. I was still trying to find my soul, trying to find, I had no hobbies. I had no passions after leaving corporate America. It was such a, for lack of a better term, such a kick in the ass to realize I sold my soul, if you will, to make money. And I didn't have anything outside that, which is, as a human, you kind of want to think there's more depth to you than that. So when my family members were passing and dear good friends, all within 6 months time frame, I at the same time was doing my partner's genealogy, and I was doing a lot of research, and I found out very quickly, combined with all these deaths that were happening and doing genealogy, we literally, after the great grandparents, if we're lucky, become nothing but names, birth dates, and death dates. And it really hit me. It hit my little heart, my little cold heartstrings to think, God, every single predecessor, our ancestors loved, laughed, hated, argued, sarcastic, whatever have you. They all had personalities. They all had some kind of meaning for existence. And of course, there was a physical activity because, you're here today. And I felt like a way of saying, I will help create your personality legacy. If we can do it over branding in a business context, that's the same concept, right? If we can help you monetize it, same concept, right? Grow brand awareness, build your community, because people do business with people like and trust. Well, that's what got me into going into entrepreneurship, because I loved that idea. Podcasting to me is a just kick booty way as a tool to achieve that in a cost-effective manner. Then when I had the opportunity to join Glow, I was like, dude, now I can reach out to all these business owners who want to create their own brand. I can be that supplemental arm to help them create their digital content, right? So you kind of see how it's feeding in. Then what happened was, over the course of the last 2 years since I've been a Dallas chair, I have met so many amazing people within the Glow community that I made a lot of great connections and connected others. Well, my next phase right now, I'm moving into in 2023, is continuously doing the podcast production, but I'm also doing some consulting for some other large-scale projects. So I'm not going to say it just yet, but it has been announced. But if anyone wants to participate in a festival next year, I'm consulting for this wonderful project. Jay, this is where my vulnerability comes into play. Like, there are days as an entrepreneur you wonder, could I be doing more? Can I be doing something else with a business? Is there a business opportunity? And this festival that I've literally injected myself into as a consultant, it combines all my passions and joys with what I've already been leading up to. So there's quite a few Glow members that are participating, that are involved in this festival because of their business, because I was able to connect with these individuals. I made introductions with the executive director, who is, by the way, a Glow member. Everyone that I've talked to from my technology world, I've been introducing into. Everyone that I've talked to from my hospitality side when I worked at Disney is now involved. Like, so if I could just put a moment of like everything culminating together. Oh, and my obsession with music. Everyone knows I go to way too many concerts. I have way too many concert t-shirts. This is my Kraftwerk t-shirt today. And you're pulling it all together. It just feels like things happen because you put yourself there, because you've had your opportunity to kind of get together and all that good stuff. So that was a very long story, but I just thought I would share that with you guys because I feel like the universe's work, and that's why Glow offers that. So this huge project, you guys, Glow is very much intimately a part of it. So that's my
Do we have
little
time
story.
for me to share my universe comes together story?
Yes, please do if you're open to it. I don't want to. I mean, everyone else, I know it's been long.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, I'll give you the short version. So I mentioned earlier about how when I lost everything, and when you go through something like that, like to me, like I had no more identity. I had built for 20 years this identity of, this successful entrepreneur. I ran EO here for, a decade. And, there was a point I could, if you needed to get in contact with an entrepreneur in Pittsburgh, I would have been able to connect you. And when I lost everything, I literally went into hiding in the basement for, unfortunately, years. I didn't live in the basement for years, but, metaphorically, I was in there for a long time. And so it was just a few years ago that I actually kind of felt like I'd built a resiliency up to kind of hang my shingle again as a coach and business consultant. And then I reconnected. I'd known Michelle, our founder and CEO with Glow, years ago through EO. I'd met her. And we just by happenstance, because I was trying to connect her with another entrepreneur that I knew. I was like, oh, you know what? I need to connect this person with Michelle. I haven't talked to Michelle in 15 years. And when I connected with her, she's like, Jay, you got to get involved with Glow. And I'm like, what is Glow? And so the process of me getting involved with Glow and now being on the leadership team and being responsible for looking for chairs to start chapters, it literally brought me back to what I think I'm here for, which is to help entrepreneurs and pass on, some of the wisdom I've acquired from being old to other entrepreneurs and get back into that entrepreneurial community. So it all came together for me too.
I'm like trying to like text here. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be just us that has that kind of experience, right? Like, and I think you and I are totally like I don't want to say we're different personality types, but we totally are, let's just say, extroverted versus introverted, I think is probably the better way to put it. Because I think our foundational stuff is very similar. But yeah, no, I mean, I didn't think I would enjoy being part of a business group. In my head, I kind of always felt like, there's like, what do you call it when you're in college and you're part of those like Greek organizations, like, oh, it's just an excuse to party. Really, all it is just to feed you into the world of community, right? Because if you're part of the Greek system, what are they called again? Fraternities. That's it. Yeah. So when you're part of those types of fraternities, that's really what Glow is. And you can make it your own. And I think that's what I love. When I talk to other chapter chairs about what they're doing, it's so interesting to me because it's like I have my own vision, but it doesn't necessarily mean my vision is going to be the same as someone else's, right? And I just love that variety.
There's a good distinction, though. I know we're trying to wrap up, but
yeah,
what Glow is not is like some of the networking, business networking events, which are really just pitch fests. And that's one of the reasons we have criteria, to get in. So you can't just send salespeople from your company to pitch other people at these networking events. And that's not what our networking events are about. We bring in these unbelievably high quality speakers, and you form real relationships with other entrepreneurs in your local community. And, when you need something, and you have now a network of 10, 50 entrepreneurs that you can reach out to and say, hey, you know what? I met you at the Glow event the other day and you're in this business and I'm looking, I need this. And it just opens up so many possibilities.
For sure. And that's, okay. This is just my own 2 seconds. Even on LinkedIn, as you're developing your own network, LinkedIn virtually, okay? Just throwing it out there, you guys. For the love of God, for the love of whatever religion you're in, or no religion for that matter, for the love of life, please do not pitch on the first introduction email. When you slide into people's DMs, I will cancel you. I will block you. I will not connect with you. So no, that's not what networking is about. This, hey, I'm a podcast promoter. Boop. You're like a delete. It's an automatic delete. Hey, I noticed your website sucks. It's like, well, thank you for calling my baby ugly. Delete. Like, yes, I'm catching what you're pitching. Deeper relationships, friendships. I mean, these people that I've met virtually, but also in person in Dallas, it's just invaluable. So, Jay Fairbrother, for those that want to get a hold of you, because I'm overwhelming at times maybe, and they want to learn more about Glow, how else can they best get a hold of you, sir?
It's pretty easy. Just email me, jay@fairbrother.com.
Excellent. And again, just a reminder, just do one more pitch with glow.com. Really, guys, it is about capital. If you're interested in it or want to learn about it, we're there. We have investment connections that if you are ready, we can help you go down that path. There's also a huge community, both nationally and locally based. If there is no chapter in your location, hit up Jay and talk to him and see what makes sense. If you know people, let's get the party started, right? I would like some more fun people in the chapter chair group to chat with, to harass, because it's more fun for me. I'm kidding. I don't harass people much, just a little bit. And of course, again, it is about content as well. There's a wealth of content. Again, just one last pitch on here is when you go to the Glow website, guys, there is a section here. So once you go into member login, there is a members only webpage, and that you go into, and there's tons of resources. So there's marketplaces where we encourage each other to do business with each other, but also I have a lot of fun with my profile. Check it out. You'll see what I mean. It is free to sign on as a basic member, which is online only. If you want to join as a chapter and be part of a chapter that is premium membership, there is great value there. Hit Jay or me up. Happy to answer any questions that you might have on that. Oh my goodness. On that note, Mr. Fairbrother, thank you so much for joining the Mic is Listening. It was really cool to have you. And I really enjoy working with you.
Thank you for having me on the Mike is Gagging show.
I know I am gagging. I know it's so bad, everyone. I'm so sorry. All right. Peace out, everyone. See ya on Wednesday. And have a great weekend. Bye.